We're now going to look at a passage, and it's a big passage, so it's a kind of different type of question. And this is what we're looking at. Question 29 to 35. Which paragraph contains the following information? So now we're looking at matching information example. Let's skim through the questions. The origin of the word calisthenics, the last popular supporter of calisthenics, the first use of calisthenics as a training method, a multidisciplinary approach to all round health and strength, reasons for the survival of calisthenics through the ages, the use of medical substance to increase muscle mass and strength, a reference to traveling showmen who displayed their strength for audiences. Alright, so we know this is something to do with calisthenics as a training method, health and strength, something to do with muscle mass, roughly. But once we read the passage first line, we'll have a very good idea. Calisthenics is the world's oldest form of resistance training. Alright, so it is a form of training. Now let's read the first sentence of each of the paragraph. From the very first caveman to scale a tree or hang from a cliff face to the mighty armies of the Greco-Roman empires and the gymnasiums of modern American schools, calisthenics has endured and thrived because of its simplicity and utility. Calisthenics enters the historical record at around 480 BC with whoever the person account of the battle of some name. Herodotus reported that prior to the battle, the god king Xerxes sent a scout party to spy on his Spartan enemies. You don't really need to know these names, but you get an idea. The Greeks took calisthenics seriously not only as a form of military discipline and strength, but also as an artistic expression of movement and an aesthetically ideal physique. Alright. Calisthenics experienced its golden age in the 1800s. This century saw the birth of gymnastics, an organized sport that uses a range of bars, rings, vaulting, horses, and balancing beams to display physical prowess. In the 1950s, Angelo Siciliano, who went by the stage name Charles Atlas, was crowned the world's most perfectly developed man. Alright. In 1960s and 70s, calisthenics and the goal of functional strength combined with physical beauty was replaced by an emphasis on huge muscles at any cost. Alright. In this bigger is better climate, calisthenics was relegated to groups perceived to be vulnerable, such as women, people recuperating from injuries, and school students. In recent years, however, fitness trends have been shifting back to the use of calisthenics. Okay, so I've gotten an idea about this passage where there's some record that calisthenics started somewhere and then Greeks picked it up. Then it had a golden age in 1800s where gymnastics kind of happened. Then I saw that in the 50s there was one important man. And then in 60s and 70s calisthenics pretty much lost its popularity for muscles. Then I see that calisthenics was reserved for vulnerable groups such as women, people from injuries, and students. And recent years I saw that calisthenics have a kind of resurfaced again. Cool, so this is the general idea I've gotten after reading slowly each passage. Which paragraph contains the following information? So now we're looking at matching information example. The origin of the word calisthenics. No, I don't remember reading this in any of the first lines of any of the paragraphs. Let's see. The last popular supporter of calisthenics. Alright, this I think I know. This might be it. The last popular supporter. Remember reading about this guy in the first sentence in the 1950s, Angelo Siciliano? Because after that, I read in the 1960s and 70s, calisthenics was kind of replaced. So this might be the last person. But to find out, we have to read. Who went by the stage name Charles Atlas, who crowned the world's most perfectly developed man. Atlas's own approach stemmed from traditional calisthenics, and through a series of mail-order comic books, he taught these methods to hundreds of thousands of children and young adults through the 1960s and 70s. But Atlas was the last of the dying breed. Alright, this is it, last of the dying breed. Let's highlight this. This passage is done. Last of the dying breed. Where is it? Last popular supporter of calisthenics. So the last of the dying breed. And we know that paragraph E has the answer to question 30. Let's see more. The first use of calisthenics as a training method. This should be pretty simple as well, because we know that the first reference we saw in the first line was calisthenics enters the historical period at around 480 BC. So this should be the one talking about the first use of calisthenics. That is good. We got 2 done. A multidisciplinary approach to all-round health and strength. No, I remember reading this in the first sentence of any. The reasons for the survival of calisthenics throughout the ages. I think I have an idea, but let me confirm. In the first passage, did we not read about surviving calisthenics? From the very first cavemen to scale a tree or hang from a cliff tree to the mighty armies of the Greco-Roman empires and gymnasiums of modern American high schools, calisthenics has endured and thrived because of its simplicity and utility. There it goes. Calisthenics has endured and thrived, meaning survived basically, because of its simplicity and utility. So the reasons for calisthenics surviving is its simplicity and utility. And which means we have an answer to another question by just pre-reading the first sentences. The use of medical substance to increase muscle mass and strength. This is for sure, I know. Remember reading muscle mass at any cost somewhere in this passage? Yeah. Calisthenics and the goal of functional strength combined with physical beauty was replaced by an emphasis on huge muscles at any cost. There we go. Huge muscle at any cost. Use of medical substance to increase muscle mass and strength. And this was passage F, I think. Yup. A reference to traveling showmen who displayed their strength for audiences. No, don't remember reading. Alright, so that's good. Just by reading the first line, first sentence or two of each of the paragraph, I am able to do 4 out of 7 this time. Which means now 4 huge long passages, these things, this information, I don't have to read. So you have saved yourself quite a lot of almost 50% of the reading now. For the rest, let's start from the top. The origin of the word calisthenics, multidisciplinary approach to all-round health and strength, and reference to traveling showmen. Okay, now let's start reading from the top and see, do we have any of that information? The Greeks took calisthenics seriously not only as a form of military discipline and strength, but also as an artistic expression of movement and aesthetically ideal physique. Okay, indeed, the term calisthenics itself is derived from the Greek words. Alright, Greek words, term calisthenics, we are getting somewhere. Section C talks about origin of the word calisthenics. There we go. We have section C done as well. Now we have to look for multidisciplinary approach to all-round health and strength and a reference to traveling showmen who displayed their strength for audience. And we have now passage D. Calisthenics experienced its second golden age in the 1800s. This century saw the birth of gymnastics, an organized sport that uses a range of bars, rings, and vaulting horses and balancing beams. This period is also when the phenomena of strong men developed. This could be the traveling showman or something. These were people of astounding physical strength and development who forged nomadic careers by demonstrating outlandish feats of strength to stun populations. There we go. Audience demonstrating outlandish feats of strength to stun population means a reference to traveling showmen who displayed their strength to audience. This is section D. Now we have 2 passages left and one thing to look forward to, which is a multidisciplinary approach to all round health and strength. We have no choice, we have to start from the top. In this bigger is better climate, calisthenics was relegated to groups perceived to be vulnerable, such as women, people from injury, school students. Although some of the strongest and most physically developed humans being ever to have lived acquired their abilities through the use of sophisticated calisthenics. A great deal of this knowledge was discarded, and the method was reduced to nothing more than an easily accessible and readily available activity. Right? Those who mastered the rudimentary skills of calisthenics could expect to graduate to weight training rather than advanced calisthenics. Right? In recent years, however, fitness trends have been shifting back toward the use of calisthenics. Bodybuilding approaches that promote excessive muscle development frequently lead to joint pain, injuries, unbalanced physiques, weak cardiovascular health. As a result, many of the newest and most popular gyms and programs emphasize calisthenic based methods instead. Modern practices often combine elements from a number of related traditions such as yoga, pilates, kettlebell training, gymnastics, traditional Greco Roman calisthenics. Many people are keen to recover the original Greek vision of physical beauty and the strength and harmony of the mind body connection. All right. Physical beauty, strength, and harmony of the mind body connection. There we're talking about approach to all round health and strength. Oh, this is bad. We had to read through everything. Ielts really does test you sometimes. We had to read through all these two passages, and the last line was the answer, and there's no way to shortcut it. So that's why I try to leave these questions to the end, because sometimes they take a lot of time. But again, as you've seen, you were saved the misery of reading four passages by just reading the first line. And then, when you were reading, you found some answers like the term calisthenics just in the third line, so you did not have to read further. And then this one you had to read fully, G you had to read fully, H you had to read fully as well. So about 60%, 60 to 70% you actually had to read fully. And that is it. Let me check the answers now. Perfect. All of these are correct as well, which was pretty obvious when we were doing these questions. It's very easy sometimes for these type of question number 5 and type of question, fifth type of questions or fourth type of questions to really know you're right. Similarly, in the fill in the blanks, you pretty much know. Short answer questions, slightly difficult, but you know. True, false, not given, you sometimes don't really know. These are the only times you are in doubt most of the times whether you're right or not.